opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
More technical. Hello, welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm the invisible man, Chipper. Oh, there I am.
That was done by our tech guru, and hi, it's CJ. He said, put it on 4. I said, why? And who's our third person there? I can see him on the screen.
I'm Carlos.
Yeah, and we've had a lot of fun just before the show, which is nice. Our hypertension levels are down, and we're going to start our yoga classes right after the show. But as many of you are aware, last night we broke the news on South Coast Media and Spindle City Straight Talk that there's a question of the appointments on the 6th floor for the Chief of Staff and for our Corporate Counsel, who, by the way, is part-time and also can't litigate. So we should have some fun on that one. But, you know, this is getting to be a very interesting week, to say the least, and I'm having fun with it. But for our viewers' knowledge, September 16th is the People's Debate. We've already started receiving questions from the viewers and from the citizens of Fall River. Your questions can be sent to debate@scstonline.com, and they will be reviewed. And we'll know exactly what the people want to know about. And I'm still waiting for our mayoral candidates to get off their duffs and confirm their attendance.
And what's the times and the place?
It will be held at the Matthew J. Cuss Middle School on Globe Mills Avenue. I love that. Globe Mills Avenue.
It's a nice app.
Spent a lot of time on that avenue.
Yep. And it will be at 6 p.m. It will be a 2-hour debate. It will be aired live on FRG TV, FRC Media, and the corresponding websites. And we're hoping that we can offer this debate also in Spanish and in Portuguese. So if you're a good translator out there, give us a call. Let us know, because we're always looking for some good help in the translation department. And now I'm going to turn this matter over to the official gentleman of the I'm very ticked off department, and and we're going to hear from good old Chip Camara.
Well, I've had a busy week. You know, obviously Tuesday I went before the council and complained about the city of Fall River trying to not pay their share of the retirement on time. They wanted a 2-month delay in payment, even though that money was authorized in the budget in June. And it was due in October, and they wanted a delay till January. So at the meeting that was proposed by Mr. Nunes, I abstained from the vote, and I said I wanted an impact study of what that delay would cost. And we got the result back, and it's a $600,000 for that 2-month delay. It's going to cost $600,000 more. So I told the council, I said, well, number one, if you've appropriated the money, why isn't it being paid on time? And why should the people of Fall River have another $600,000 added to a budget that wasn't in there that you voted on? And you add that to the money in the healthcare system that was put into the city fund and counted as city money, and it was actually employee money. This is the reason that I was getting an audit. But it's frustrating, you know. And so at Thursday's retirement board meeting, I went, and it will be televised at some point because it was recorded. I went on record as being opposed, and as I said at the council meeting, I wanted the city to pay their bill on time. They have a commitment. The people who worked in the city of Fall River for tens of thousands of years, and you know, cumulatively, you look at all these people and how many years they served the city. You know, retirement is a contract that the city entered into, and one of the shocking statistics that I brought out was that in 2002, we were 80% funded, and now, in 2015, we're only 40% funded because the city, in comparison to New Bedford, has put over $88 million less into our fund. They pay late, they don't pay enough. They find ways to manipulate numbers, which again proves what we always say, that, you know, figures don't lie, but liars can figure. And I just went on record and said, I want to go on record as voting no, now that the report, and I stipulated the budget, and Mr. Gupta was there this time, and he went, oh, well, you know, and then the board made a motion to reconsider allowing them to pay late, and they reconsidered the motion and voted to require the city to pay on time, which I felt was the proper action to do. I'm glad that they supported that position, because, you know, we blow enough money. We saw a city council meeting on Tuesday. They're spending money on barrels. They're spending money for obsolete computers, and, you know, this is the whole thing. You know, and I had a healthcare advisory board meeting this morning, and we're dealing with issues, and, you know, this is what disturbs me. What disturbs me, and, you know, CJ, Carlos, you guys can weigh in on this, is what really bothers me about this is at Tuesday night's meeting, we had an IT guy that went up during citizens input and basically told the city council that, look, this deal you're getting on the computers is not good. It's, you know, and he went into this, you know, I mean, look, I'm not a IT tech guy. I'll be the first guy to say, look, that's one of the areas I'm not really that well versed in, and I'm not gonna pretend that I know anything about that, to any degree that I could make a comment on that.
As a matter of fact, you come to me for the help.
That's right. That's true. I call you often. My granddaughter has to tell me how to run my iPhone, for crying out loud. So it's like, look, I'm a low tech guy, and it's like, but what really disturbs me is now this guy comes before the council and he explains that he does this work for big companies in Boston and stuff, and then he says this isn't a good deal, and the council listens like 9 bobbleheads, and then they just vote the thing right through. But before he starts, it's like that's what disturbs me about them. It's like they don't even listen and they don't care, because look, let's face it, if you or I, and let's forget about computers, but any issue, because they're representing us and spending our money. If you got a bid on your roof, and then you were getting ready to give this guy the job, and then somebody came up and said, oh, that guy's had a lot of complaints against him. He uses inferior material. He does. Even if the guy was wrong, you're going to check it out. Mm-hmm. You're going to check it out. You can't, and they never do. They don't care. It's like they get people with credentials up there that say, you're doing this wrong, and they're oblivious. They just dead ahead. It's like if you put a wall in front of them, the only thing they know how to do is run into it until they either knock the wall down or their head falls off. And it's like, that's what really bothers me about these people. They're not representing our best interests. For God's sakes, if somebody tells you that they have an issue with something you're considering spending money on, what is the problem in tabling it while you investigate? And if the allegations are wrong, then you can say, we checked, this guy was not accurate, and then we can then say, taxpayers, we have done our due diligence, and we're spending your money in the best way possible. That's what really upsets me about the way they do business.
That just tells us that those votes are already decided. even
that-
before they take the seats
And that's the
on that
truth.
chamber. So they already decided how they're going to vote. Doesn't matter who's going to be in front of them. And this is happening not just on city council. This is happening on the boards. You know, any boards, the neighbors go and they complain about, they don't want this land to be divided. They don't want this person to get the license, you know. And it's done. You can fill up a chamber, and I was there. I was there with the problem that the neighbors fill up a chamber downstairs, not to split this piece of land, and they went through like anything. You know something? You can complain. You can file a complaint. It's going to cost us to complain $1,500 just to start the process. So it's not fair for the neighbors. It's not fair for the citizens. These people need to start listening to the citizens. We go there. We ask them something. Okay, the minimum that you can do to try to that you are listening to us is the table. I was going to vote for it, but this new information came in. I want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. It's the only thing that we asking you to do is when you have a citizen that goes in front of you and allegates something, okay, you need to prove it first if it's true.
Yeah.
And you table it. So at least you give us at least the sense they're going to look into it.
But you know, Carlos, this is the problem. And this complaint has been coming out of the citizenry for some time now about citizens' input time and about the boards, that when you go in and you sit down and you have thought what you're going to say to them, number one, you've got to compress it because they will not allow you to go over 3 minutes unless you're special. Or you're from Swansea and you're a messiah.
Or you have a CEO right here in front of your head.
Exactly. But I know that I've stopped going to city council meetings to put any citizens' input in because I've sat there numerous times and I see them playing with their papers and looking in their drawers.
Those rocking chairs had to go. Those rocking chairs had to go.
Chairs, and they're like, I can't be bothered listening to you, just go away. And whether you're right or wrong is irrelevant. The fact that you're a citizen and you're saying your position, that is important. And for that to be dismissed as though you're irrelevant really is infuriating a great deal of the citizenry. And this is why I'm a firm believer that the counselor in seat 1 to the counselor in seat 8 plus the presidency all need to go, because all of them are disrespectful. They are all not paying attention to what people have to say, and more importantly, they're ignoring the voter. They're ignoring what the voter is asking for and asking them to do. And all they do is what they're told to do. It's like bobbleheads.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're right, CJ. And the fact is, what they're doing, which is more heinous, is the fact that they're not doing what they're elected to do. That's represent the people. And they also, I've revised my opinion. It's no longer a monarchy; it's an oligarchy. But the fact is that we have these people that run this community, and there is a double standard. And anybody who thinks that there isn't a double standard, I encourage you to watch the last meeting when the two people who lived on Hyacinth Street came up and talked about how much money they were spending, thousands and thousands of dollars, and they've had a problem for 2 years, a year and a half, and the city's done absolutely nothing for them. Why? If they were politically connected, they would have had the entire DPW out there. They would have, look what they did on Duval Street for one of the shakers and movers. He bought a building and they put aside projects and moved his project to the top of the heap. And it's like, okay.
He got new sidewalks
Right,
before the building got windows.
Exactly.
That's right.
But I mean, and then we have.
Did they account for the windows? Did they account for the windows?
No, and
Do they know where they
that's
came from?
yeah, and that's the second half of the equation. What you alluded to before, there's some issues here. But a lot of people don't realize, and since there's been a complaint filed, just for the sake of people knowing, the reality is that both Lou Pacheco, the Chief of Staff, and Joe Macy, the Corporation Counsel / lawyer / no socks yuppie. But
Carlos isn't wearing socks
they,
today.
now Lupa
didn't
Chico,
sew yet.
now Lupa Chico gets $70,000 a year, and Joe Macy gets $92,000, vicinity, and everybody's going, and Sam, and this is the thing that gets me, they misrepresent things and they distort fact, and these people are supposed to be, lawyers and people who abide by the law, but the reality is that Lupa Chico can't get more than $70,000 a year because it'll affect his pension, as does Macy, because there is the pension law requires, there is a restriction on how much money they can make and also how much they can work. What the people don't realize is that by law, Macy and Pacheco are not supposed to work more than 18 and a half hours a week. And that means that if he's getting, in fact, 72 and 92,000, and they're only working 18 and a half hours a week, did Sam Sutter tell them that we got a part-time chief of staff and a part-time corporation counsel? No. And they'll say, oh, no, these guys work 40, 50 hours a week, but we only pay them for 18. Well, I hate to tell you this, but the law doesn't allow that. There's a restriction on how many hours they can work, and if they work more than those hours, they're going to end up, at the end of an investigation, having to pay back money, and they're going to have to be, their employment's going to have to be terminated. But my question is, why aren't they forthcoming with these things? They try to characterize it like they're doing the city a big favor. Like he said, Macy's only getting 92,000. He's not getting 100 and some like Elizabeth. Well, that's because how much is Macy making on his pension? How much is Lupa Chico making on his pension? So, they're staying within the parameters, so they don't have to give any money back. So they're taking every single penny they can from the taxpayer. And they're actually, what they're doing may, and I can't say it is, that's going to have to be investigated by PERAC, but they're going to have to be, that's going to have to be looked at. Because either way, as far as I'm concerned, they're wrong. Because if they're working 18 and a half hours a week, as they are required to by law, the citizens of Fall River should know that Joe Macy is making $92,000 for working less than 20 hours a week, and Lupa Chico's making $70 for working less than 20. And if they're working more, they're violating the law. And the judge knows that. So either way, the bottom line is the truth was not told to the people of Fall River. Mayor Sutter characterized these two guys as, look at what great, they're coming to the city and working. Look, he's only getting $70,000. Well, if he got 90 or 100, he'd have to forfeit some of his pension. Now, it wasn't this altruistic, I came from Rainham down with the poor people, and I'm gonna only work for $70,000 because the minions, that's a lot of money to those minions in that town, and Joe Macy stepped down from the pulpit of being the judge, and now he's a corporation counsel because we need somebody with this great judicial mind to formulate opinions. But let's face it, let's let the truth come out. Are they working 18 and a half hours for this money, as the law requires them to do? Or are they working more in violation of the law? But the answer's got to be either one or the other. And the real question is, why wasn't Mayor Sutter clear about this? Why didn't transparency, when he ran, he said, we're going to have a transparent government, we're going to be here, we're going to talk, everything's going to be out in the open? Well, why didn't you say when Lupa Chico came here, he's on a pension from the town of Rainham. He's getting a pension. His ability to earn money is restricted by statute. And these are the conditions he has to work under.
And I was not too long ago that Mayor Sutter said it publicly that just during the budget, how many hours Lupa Chico worked a week.
But you know, something
So-
that we've missed here
so-
on this whole Lou Pacheco thing is the fact that he also worked in the district attorney's office after his retirement from the Raynham Police Department. How many hours did he work in the district attorney's office? So, I mean, you know, PEREC's going to look at this. They're going to say, wait a minute, you're doing this here. What did you do there? And, you know, this is opening up a huge can of worms. But again, let's quote a great judicial mind that says it's all perfectly legal until challenged in court.
Yeah, well, the city's response was they're paying them, that pay is for 18 and a half hours. If that's the
Right.
truth, I want to see it in the Herald News. Let the Herald News investigate now. Go ahead, boys. We gave it to you again. Here's your story. Go check.
Right.
Send one of your reporters over there and say, what is he getting paid for on the books? Is he being paid for 18 and a half hours? And then divide 18 and a half hours per week, even if he worked 52 weeks a year, and then divide that number of hours into $70,000, and you'll find out that Lou Pacheco, if that's the case he's being paid for, he's making $77 an hour.
Exactly.
And the other guy's making over $90 an hour.
Almost 96.
Almost $96 an hour. So, you know, is that what the public wants? And if they're working extra and they go, oh, well, they're volunteering the rest of their time. No, they're not. That's a pretty good salary, even if you worked a 40-hour week and a 50-hour week before. But the fact is, that's not the way the law is interpreted. PERAC doesn't allow them to do that. What you have to do is terminate their employment and bring them back you can't keep them on the books as a city employee. They've got to come back as a volunteer.
Right.
Otherwise, it's considered work.
You know-
And this is going to be, you know, like I said, you know, these were allegations brought forth by an anonymous, I don't know who it was, but obviously anonymous, but somebody, I guess, wrote and complained to the state, and that's being checked into. But what's more important to me is truth, transparency to the people of Fall River. Did Sam Sutter say Lou Pacheco's getting $70,000, and that's what he's getting for an 18 and a half hour work week? And that's and he did say that Joe Macy's working for only $92,000, unlike Liz, who was getting 120, 100 and something. But Liz was not working 18 and a half hours. They're being paid for 18 and a half. So if they're being paid for 18 and a half, who's that guy in the middle? Oh!
I don't know. I guess he had a message for you, Chip.
You've already taken enough, Sam. I'm sorry. But no, you know, you were laughing, but, you know, it calls into question, you know, like I said, let's be truthful. You know, like, you know, I always say, look, if you're going to urinate out of my head, you know, at least extend me to courtesy and not trying to convince me it's raining. Look, you know, be up front, Sam. You should have said, look, these guys are under legal constraints by the law. You're a lawyer. I mean, look, if Bob Carrere or Carlton Viveris, one was a school teacher and the other guy, I don't know what he did before he became a rep, but, you know, Carlton, I believe Carlton had a GED. So now if you told me you didn't understand the pension laws and stuff like that, and you're not a lawyer and you don't understand the legal ramifications, you can't say that. You know, Sam Sutter can't say that. Sam Sutter's an attorney, and not only is Sam Sutter an attorney, he's an attorney who employed a man that worked for him in the DA's office. He was fully aware that Lou Pacheco was on a pension, and that pension comes with statutory restrictions. So why wasn't he up front with the people and say, look, Lou Pacheco gets a pension. Don't try to make it like this grandiose gesture. Oh, you see, I brought this genius into the city and he's working for peanuts. He's working for as much money as he can get without paying a penalty. So that's not too altruistic in my book.
Hey, this is Fall River. This is where families run away. But you know, this is the problem. And you know, again, I'm obviously kicked off another Christmas card list, and I'm going to be devastated by it. But you know, we bring these stories out, we present this information, and people follow up on what we say because we base our stuff on fact. And that fact is important. We stand by what we say because we have the background in it. But to the individual who filed this anonymous complaint, you obviously have a set of cojones on you that is admirable. But next time, don't tell people who you talked to beforehand in your letter.
Yeah, I saw the letter too, and I guess they were really upset and trying to determine who it was. But I can tell you one thing: it wasn't me, because everybody knows me well enough to know I would never send in an anonymous letter. I would have brought it in, and I would have had all the TV cameras there when I sent the letter. I would have had a picture of myself at the end of the letter. So there's absolutely, it was not me, and like I said, it's a. But it was, that letter was sent, and, it's out there now, and there's a more important thing than that. It's a question now of, even if this person, whether he's right, wrong, or indifferent, he is right about these restrictions. And whoever wrote that letter did understand the law pretty well. He understood the pension system, and he understood his restrictions, and so he has a valid point, and a valid point transcends his letter. It goes to the credibility of this administration and what it says.
Chip, but I think what also needs to happen here is this new auditing committee needs to look at it.
Yeah.
And find out if there's any wrongdoing here.
Yeah.
Because, the auditing committee is going to make sure that the books are accurate.
Yeah, and just like the 22 windows.
Yes, exactly.
I'm going to take a wild guess before we get it. There'll be no finding.
But, we laugh about this, but this is what's become of Fall River. Because the voters keep voting in the same people, okay, because of chicken sandwiches, hot dogs. I mean, Elizabeth Warren was giving away hamburgers and hot dogs. She must be taking a lesson from the Fall River politicians. If you're going to come to town, bring food because they'll love you. And this has really become an absolute, crap show. And it's going to be interesting to see how this starts playing out this week. We do have requests from people to have commentaries on the show, and as we've said before, not a problem. And I believe you are sitting right next to a person who wants to have a commentary next week. So if the city council won't listen to us when we go in and sit down, then we're going to give them another opportunity to talk, where we're not going to restrict them to 3 minutes. And as long as it's not hateful, they're fine. Because that's what we need. We need citizen activists to say, you did this wrong. And this is what's going to happen now. We need more people to turn around. We don't need more poor people. We need more people.
Yeah, and it's not about, and like you said, it's not hateful. It's not, look, it's nothing personal. I mean, I don't dislike Lou Pacheco. The fact is that, but let's call a spade a spade. If you're double dipping, if you're making as much money as you can, admit it. I mean, be shameless. Because. I give Jimmy Gibney, the former superintendent of schools, a hard time every time I see him. I used to see him at the gym every day till I changed gyms. And it wasn't a reason, his membership, but I used to see Jimmy all the time, and I used to always give him a hard time. You were the superintendent of schools in Fall River, and then you run over and you work in Rhode Island so you can get another pension. You double dip, and and it was like, it was good-natured joking, but look, the guy doesn't make any, he's not trying to hide anything. It's like, if I can make some more money, I can make more money. But that's the thing about these people. If you're doing it, admit it, because some people may say, it's bad, but they pale by comparison to what our political people do. I mean, look at the pension that Billy Bolger gets.
Yeah.
Look at the pension that Joan Menard gets, because when they left their political positions, they get these cushy, jobs with the state, and with the government. And then they get these massive, massive pensions. They talk about the pension system. Well, the biggest drains on the pension system are guys like Billy Bolger, who, when he became the president of UMass, got a $200,000 a year pay raise and was making over $300,000. So his pension's over $200,000. So
Yep.
Stay angry, everybody.
Yep, and we're again at the end of this show and the end of the week. Hey, we'll see you on Monday, and remember, keep those tips coming, stay angry, and be a citizen activist. We love to hear from you.
Thank you.
Get the shovels.